So, welcome to today's episode of Sticky Toffee Pudding. It's quite an easy recipe really. It sounds complicated, but it's really not. Today I'm going to show you how to put that together. But first of all, what we're going to do, sticky toffee pudding is really, the flavour comes out from the dates, and this is a core element. So we're going to start with the dates. What we want to do is, they're dried pitted dates. I've just taken the pits out. I've got a teaspoon of bicarbonate of soda, and I want to get the dates to dissolve. So what we're going to do is add some boiling water, 200 milliliters of boiling water to 200 grams of dates, and 1 teaspoon of bicarbonate of soda. And I'm going to let that rest now about 10-15 minutes, and while that's resting, when I come back to it, all of those dates would have turned to mush, and that's what we're going to add to the batter, the mixture. So back in a moment. Okay, next thing is to start creaming the butter with, firstly, 2 tablespoons of black treacle. And if you just look at this now, look, oh lovely. This is what's going to add that texture and create that stickiness in the pudding itself. So I'll just scrape that down. It's about 1. I think this is a dessert spoon rather than a tablespoon, but I think it's allowed, you know. So I'm going to get that off there, and then get back into the pot, hopefully, and go in for another generous helping of black treacle. So this is just the Dutch equivalent of that black treacle. You can use Lyle's if you have it, or any other, wherever you are in the world, using black treacle. And it's a byproduct, I think, of molasses production. So it's kind of like, I think, molasses. I'm not too sure. Maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong. Now, I'm gonna see that it's a bit sticky, right? Hold, is it? So what we want to do, I will use a whisk in just a moment, but initially I will use an electric whisk in just a moment, but let's just get that. Now I'll put the butter has been sat at room temperature. It was 75 grams of butter, which I let it rest for at room temperature for about an hour, right? So you can see that it's already kind of forming. Now what I want to do is add some beautiful brown, dark brown muscovado sugar. So this is again, it's low carb, it's not as refined as white sugar, and again, this we're using it for the flavor, to add that caramel flavor in there. So I'm going to mix this all, and then I'm going to, in just a moment, come back to you and with all of this mixed in quite well, and I'm going to add some more ingredients. Okay, so I don't have a spatula. I must remember to buy one, because I've started this cooking channel, and I'm just slowly building up my toolkits. Anyway, so here we are. And what I need to do now is I need 2 large eggs, but I have 3 kind of like small to medium. They're quite small really, because they're free range corn-fed eggs, chicken eggs. I'm just going to add 2 and then fold them in, kind of get smooth quality, because what I want to do is start here and then add some of the flour to create that sort of what we need to create actually is a batter. So what we're going to use then for baking. So you see now that's perhaps a bit too watery. So it says 2 the recipe, by the way, I'm not naming the person who has created the recipe, but I believe that this was developed somewhere in the 70s in some hotel, I think in France or England, but that's the origin of the recipe. But the one I'm using is, you can find it on the BBC website actually, BBC Good Food. Right, I'm just gonna see if I can, there we go. I mean, if you have a machine to do that or a stand mix, that would be ideal. I'm just using a whisk. And what I want to do is beat out any lumps, so try and get out any lumps. This might take a while, maybe a few minutes, so I'll return to this, and I may or may not add the other egg, so I'll see how it goes. Okay, so I added all of the egg, you'll see here. Right, so it's 3 small medium eggs, and there's something happening to the mixture now. I think it's just the combination of, you know, the time in between filming, but I think the butter is melting in there. So what I want to do is add 2 teaspoons of baking powder, and baking powder is what is going to help it to rise somewhat, not that much because it's a batter, and it won't rise that much. So what I want to do is, we're not using self-raising flour, we're using plain flour. So here we have 150 grams of plain flour, and I'm just going to create this batter now. I might pause the video for a second and do this with an electric whisk, which I have here. I'll use an electric whisk, handheld one, but we'll see. And that will be it, I believe, and then I'll come back to showing what needs to be done next, and it's quite simple really. Just popping it in a preheated oven. Whilst the thing is cooking in an oven, I'm going to, something's happening to this mix. Oh yeah, it's fine. Now I'm going to use an electric whisk for this to get it all nice and smooth. That should be it. To get the smoothness into it, and I'll be back in a moment. Okay, so that's a lot better. That's just a little whiz for literally 10-15 seconds, and there we are. Now I was thinking, why does it look still a bit dry? And I forgot completely the dates, of course, the dates from the beginning. And let's see where we were up to with the dates. You see there's some moisture in there in the dates. Right, okay. I think the dates do need, I think perhaps the dates would need, I'm going to squish these dates down with a fork to get them into a smooth paste before I add them. Okay, so the dates I've squished down a bit with a fork, and I'm going to now add it to the mix and go ahead and blend this all up. I think it'll just take a few, about a minute or two, and then I'm going to be done with this batter. Okay, so this is the final product. You'll see the batter is kind of smooth. You see you can see perhaps some lumps there that's coming from the dates. I'll switch the light on for a moment. You'll see here, now this is, in terms of consistency, that's fine. You'll see the lumps. You can maybe spend some more time whisking it, but I think I'm happy with that. A bit of lumps in there, it'll soon dissolve anyway while it's just cooking. So on to the next thing, which is going to be sticking this in the oven for about half an hour, 45 minutes, until brown, or until you put in prick it with something and it comes out clean, so like an implement, and then I'll make the sauce. What I'm going to do now is, for the sauce for the sticky toffee pudding, is just melt down some butter and then add 150 grams of butter, and this is 300 grams of dark muscovado sugar. And with this I'm then going to add 200 milliliters of double cream to create the sauce, and then what I'm then going to do is just pour it onto the puddings. So back in a second. We're going to add that there on a low heat, I think, just continuously mix it around. And what will happen, it'll turn to sort of like treacle caramel, not treacle, it'll turn into a caramel. This is how you make caramel, I suspect. So I'm using my phone with one hand and doing that. Okay, that's a low heat. 6, I'll put it on a 6. It's like a medium heat, just above a medium. Now it's getting a bit thick. What I want to do is to oh, that splattered everywhere. Now what I want to do is to add a bit of double cream at times, 250, around 250 milliliters, and this is what I'm going to do to create the lovely caramel. I'm going to do this slowly. Look, oh, beautiful. That's nice. Oh no, it's curdled a bit. I don't know what's happening to it. Oh, that'll soon dissipate, I suspect. What you're seeing is the fats. Oh, look at that. It's like a galaxy. Oh, beautiful. Look at that. Wonderful. Marble colours there. And this is where the sinfully delicious element to sticky toffee pudding comes in, because there wasn't a lot of sugar in the actual sponge itself. This is where you get all the sugar. 300 grams of dark sugar, but because we're using dark sugar itself, it's low carb really compared to white refined sugar. So I wouldn't say it's healthier for you, but it's you know, a better option, I suppose, than white sugar. So here we go. And being a diabetic, I have to be careful. A lot of my recipes are low carb. I'm not too sure. I'm not just catching a trend. I have to keep my sugars down, and that's one way of doing it. So you can see now that's turned out quite well, really. Oh, beautiful. Okay, so this is just coming to the boil. I'm just going to take it off. It doesn't need too long on the boil. Otherwise, what will happen is that caramel will harden too much. And now that's perfect. What I want to do now is pour it onto the trays. Okay, so what we need to do now is, with the sponge, you need to make holes, and you'll see them all the way. I've done this already. I've just made holes all the way through this with a cocktail stick. So I had enough mixture for 9 people. And what I did was I kind of did it quite thinly at the bottom, and it's risen a bit, and I wanted it quite thin because I wanted to get the portion control quite exact. So here we are. What we want to do now is pour and just let it rest. So here we go. I just want to simply get that on there. Delicious. A little bit there. Ooh, a little bit there. And because hopefully it's on a flat surface, it should be There we go. Now, what we want to do is go for an even distribution. So here you'll see, and what we need to remember is that it's very rich, but the sponge is going to take up a lot of that, right? It does look quite a lot, but don't forget, by the time you've given it a few hours, which is what you're going to do, all of that lovely sauce will trickle down to the top, to the bottom, and kind of saturate. All of that sauce will saturate the sponge itself, right? So be aware of that. I'm going to take this off. So here we go. This is, I have a colleague who's visiting tomorrow, and she's going to take some away with her for her and her family, and the rest are for us. So, I mean, because it's quite a rich dessert, you can get maybe 2 or 3 servings out of these, 3 or 4, depending on how you are with your sugars. But maybe, I think I would say this is enough for 4 per person. You would have this with some ice cream, some vanilla ice cream, preferably nothing else, or maybe with some cream or some double cream or some single cream or some whipped cream. And that's it. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. Thank you. Bye-bye.